Cataract Peak is a 56-kilometer, 2850-meter elevation gain out and back trip far into the backcountry of Banff National Park. Because it is so remote and just under 11,000 feet, Cataract Peak is rarely ever summited. When I was there with Kayla, we were the 7th party to write our names in the summit register, which was first placed back in 1930. For anyone watching this video and thinking they're going to try Cataract Peak, please soak up as much information as possible. That being said, the ascent side of Cataract Peak is a labyrinth of ledges and gullies, and the west ridge, which this video will cover, is extremely loose. You should be competent at route finding and comfortable with Class 5 terrain. Park at the Mosquito Creek Hostel and cross the 93 to the Mosquito Creek Trailhead.
11:32. What is it? Yeah, August 26th, year 1 of the COVID.
The trailhead is on the east end of the 93 and the north side of Mosquito Creek.
Okay, so 6 kilometers to the thing. And we're going to North Molar Pass, which is 13 kilometers, and then Fish Lakes is 16.4. Pipestone River is 20.1. Okay, we're gonna have more than 20 kilometers today then.
Oh god.
Follow the trail to the MO6 campground. The trail to the campground is very flat. Near the eating area of the campground there will be a bridge crossing Mosquito Creek. Take this bridge and continue along the trail. Eventually you will come to a fork in the road, one way marked Molar Pass and the other marked Fish Lakes. Take the trail going left marked Fish Lakes. The Molar Pass is referring to South Molar Pass, not north, which is where you're going.
That is us. North Molar Pass. That is us.
The first 10 kilometers or so of this trip is just walking through forest. Eventually the forest will give way to beautiful meadows, and your view will open up.
The peaks around us have opened up.
The trail will bring you to the right side of a creek. As the creek reaches a large pond, the trail will start veering upwards and to the right. Then it will abruptly end. Don't go up and to the right. The actual trail is on the other side of the creek.
Oh yeah, but it looks like we're curving up.
We were unable to see this until we got higher up on the trail. That ended. Then we proceeded to cross the creek.
This is also a good shot.
Continue to follow the trail and it will lead you to North Molar Pass. Descend to the other side of the pass on the same trail. Soon you will get your first view of Cataract Peak to the east. Once again you will be back in beautiful meadows.
It becomes too difficult, so I think we could do the West Ridge.
As you re-enter forest, you should get a look at the upper Fish Lake. The trail will take you to Fish Lake's campground, a nice place for a break, but eventually you'll have to keep going.
Spots to stop.
The next bit of the trip will be very pleasant, as you get a great look at your objective. At the lower Fish Lake, there will be another fork in the trail. Take the left branch to the Pipestone River. I suggest taking off your shoes and crossing right where the trail meets the river. It will be hard to find a way of crossing without getting your feet wet. Once across the river, go perpendicular from the river until you hit a trail. It should be within 100 meters. We did not know of this trail and ended up bushwhacking for quite a bit before we ended up finding it.
What?
The trail should end at about the same point where the forest on your left ends. Cut northeast and you will see a large waterfall leading to the hanging valley between Cataract and Little Cataract. Along the way you will have to cross another creek. Go up the forest to climbers left of the waterfall. Once above the waterfall you will have to cross the creek that leads into the waterfall. Follow along the creek and eventually the forest will subside. We decided to bivvy at this green patch next to the creek.
We're climbing that tomorrow. Should be pretty self-explanatory.
So day 1 was about 24 kilometers and 1,050 meters of elevation gain. Day 2 is about 32 kilometers and 1,800 meters of elevation gain. So you'll want to get a good rest. Okay, so the route up isn't really self-explanatory. I have seen reports of people going further up the valley and ascending this gully, crossing this ramp, and then going up this ramp to get to the summit. We started out in the dark and went up this gully. We popped out at this point, which gave access to the glacier, which we took to the West Ridge and descended the West Ridge to the summit. On descent we first took that high ramp down. I believe we took this lower ramp back to the main descent gully. You can look at this picture and speculate what might work as long as you want, but there are a lot of ramps and gullies that can take you to the summit. After a good night's sleep, we got up early, ate breakfast, and started up that gully I mentioned earlier.
Okay, it is 5:32, August 27th, year 1 of the COVID. And we're about to start. It's like pretty dark right now, but the sun is technically coming up.
Once you get in the gully, you'll want to start moving climbers left. You will quickly realize that the rock is incredibly loose.
Pretty loose. It's like the loosest shit I've ever dealt with.
Once we got over to that next gully, we started heading up. We were confronted by a choice between rock climbing up a wall or going up this snow patch to that narrow ledge and traversing over. We went with the snow patch option.
Then take this across.
This is the wall. The snow was in good condition when we were there, but it was clearly hollow near the top.
Good. Nice.
The ledge was quite narrow, but it wasn't actually too loose, so it worked out okay. Once we were off the ledge, we went up to the next patch of snow and started skirting around it to climbers left. We snuck in between where the snow met the rock face and then started heading up climbers left on slab. Like most of this mountain, the terrain was loose, and even though it would seem easy, the slab traverse was more difficult than it looks. When you reach a cliff, follow it up and keep walking towards the summit. Eventually you will pop out at a glacier.
I know,
This glacier
right?
will be the most
Good
pleasant part of the day. You will finally have a break from everything being loose. Unfortunately, you will not be on the glacier for long. Basically just walk up and a bit to climbers left. We did not see any crevasses.
We'll get a good view to the south. Should be able to see Cyclone and Pipe Zone, the Drummond Ice Field. Here comes Kayla. Kayla.
Once off the glacier, start going east along the west ridge. Your views will start to open up here. The rock on this section will also surprisingly not be too loose. Eventually the ridge will start to level out, and this is where things will start getting difficult. You're going to start off with a short down climb. Note that although the down climb is not difficult, there is not much room for error if you do happen to fall. This small down climb is immediately followed by a larger Class 5 down climb.
Damn it.
Once you're down, go around the immediate narrow section of ridge to the left, and then get on the ridge and start heading up. Eventually this narrow section will start to level out.
Oh. Yeah, good decision.
Shortly after, you will arrive at about a 1.2 meter drop. There is no room for error here, so you have to be very precise. This will be accompanied by another drop which I consider to be the crux of the ridge. The rock on this drop is very loose. I loosed about 30 pounds at some point. Immediately after the drop there is another which I deemed too sheer to downclimb safely, so we traversed around the side of the ridge. There is severe exposure when doing this move.
Yes, nice. Yeah.
The worst of the ridge is now over, so you can relax a bit and enjoy the views.
It's not very far.
About 1100 meters above our bivvy site, we finally topped out on the summit ridge. The summit ridge is not technical, although it is loose because almost the whole fucking mountain is loose.
4 hours, 43 minutes from the bivvy, and we are on top of Cataract Peak.
The views from the summit and the summit ridge are incredible,
God, so cool.
so you should spend as much time up there as possible.
Coy's writing our names now. And the date.
When you are done, go to the east end of the summit ridge.
Views from the summit ridge one last time before we make our descent. Okay, fuck, let's...
When you're ready to leave, go northeast aiming directly for Little Cataract. After about 2 minutes, cut left and you will be on a high ramp that will bring you back over near the glacier. You will have to cross a pocket glacier. Note that the pocket glacier leads directly to cliffs, so it is essential that you bring crampons and an ice axe. This was the crux of the trip for us. After you cross the pocket glacier, you are not out of the clear. The ramp is incredibly loose. I probably averaged a fall, where I landed on my hands, every 4 meters. If you slip close to the bottom of the ramp, there is a chance you're going over the cliffs. Once you're off the ramp, descend skiers right of the glacier. Then we cut over in this direction to gain access to a ramp that would take us to the descent gully. Very soon after we started on the ramp, there was access to a lower ramp, which we took. I'm pretty sure any of these ramps you try will work though. Although the one we ended up on had a section of wet rock at the end that we had to tiptoe around close to the cliff edge. Once off the ramps, descend the gully back to the creek and follow the creek back to your bivvy site. Note that although we had only bivvied 1100 meters or so under the summit, and it was only about 8 kilometers round trip from the bivvy to the top and back, it took us about 9 hours to make this trip. This is because of how difficult the terrain was. Once you get back to the bivvy site, you have to go back the way you came in. Easier said than done. You still have 24 kilometers with heavy packs.
Nice. Okay,
Goodbye, son.
now it's kind of a cool shot with the river. Hey, bear. Hi.
We made it, Dad.
Made it.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh?
Okay.